The red warning lights flashed across the command center of Luna Station. Admiral Jack Miller stood before the massive viewing screen, watching the incoming transmission from deep space. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of the control panel tightly. "Sir, we're receiving the official response from the Galactic Council," said Captain Lisa Brown. She was the head of Earth's diplomatic team and had spent months trying to negotiate with the alien alliance. Her voice carried a tone of defeat that made everyone in the room tense. The screen flickered to life, showing the imposing figure of Ambassador Zeftar from the Velnari species. The alien's blue skin glowed under harsh lighting, and his arms moved in what humans had learned was a gesture of authority. Behind him stood representatives from 11 other alien races, all members of the powerful Galactic Council. "Humans of Earth." Zeftar's voice came through the translators with mechanical precision. "The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding your species. You have been declared a threat to galactic peace and stability." Admiral Miller felt his jaw clench. After 150 years of human expansion into space, after building colonies on 200 different worlds, this was how the galaxy chose to greet them. Zeftar continued, his four eyes never blinking. "Your species has shown dangerous patterns of behavior. You expand too quickly. You take resources without permission. You refuse to follow the established order that has kept peace in this galaxy for over 10,000 years. Captain Brown stepped forward. "Ambassador, we have followed all established protocols. We have never attacked Council territories or threatened Council members. Our expansion has been peaceful." The alien's laugh was a harsh sound that made several humans in the room flinch. "Peaceful? You call it peaceful when you terraform entire worlds without Council approval? You call it peaceful when your colonists fight our peacekeeping forces? You call it peaceful when you refuse to limit your population growth?" General Pete Hayes, a tall man with gray hair and countless battle scars, moved closer to the screen. "We defended ourselves when your forces attacked our settlements. We've never been the aggressors here. Your very existence is aggression," said another council member, this one from the insectoid Kresh species. "You multiply like a plague. You consume resources faster than any civilized species should. You must be contained." Admiral Miller finally spoke, his voice calm but carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in the dark void of space. "What exactly are you demanding?" Zeftar's forearms spread wide in what humans recognized as a threatening gesture. "The Council's terms are simple and non-negotiable. First, humanity will withdraw from all systems beyond your original 50 colonies. Second, you will submit to Council oversight of all future expansion. Third, you will accept population controls to limit your growth. Fourth, you will surrender your military vessels and accept Council peacekeepers in all your systems." The command center fell silent. Every human present understood what they were hearing. The Council wasn't just asking for concessions. They were demanding humanity's surrender. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Miller asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you will face the full military might of the Galactic Council," Zeftar replied. "We command over 10,000 warships. We have the power to sterilize planets from orbit. 3 other species have refused Council authority in the past. None of them exist today." Captain Brown tried one last diplomatic approach. "Ambassador, surely we can find a compromise. Humanity has much to offer the galactic community. Our technology, our culture, our perspective." "Your perspective is the problem," interrupted War Prime Kethvar of the Drakmari, a species known throughout the galaxy for their military prowess. "You think like predators. You fight when you should submit. You expand when you should remain still. The galaxy has no place for such chaos." Admiral Miller studied the faces of the alien council members. He saw fear there, hidden beneath their arrogance. They weren't just trying to control humanity, they were afraid of what humans might become if left unchecked. "How long do we have to consider your terms?" he asked. 30 standard days, Zeftar replied. "After that, Council fleets will begin enforcement actions. Choose wisely, humans. Submission means survival. Defiance means extinction." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in darkness except for the emergency lighting. For several moments, no one spoke. The weight of the Council's ultimatum settled over them like a heavy blanket. General Hayes was the first to break the silence. 30 days to give up everything we've built, everything our people have died for. Dr. Amy Stone, head of the Colonial Research Division, activated her tablet and began pulling up data. I've been studying Council military capabilities for months. They're not bluffing about their fleet size or their orbital bombardment abilities. They've destroyed 3 species completely, turned their homeworlds into lifeless rocks. What about their weaknesses? Admiral Miller asked. Dr. Stone looked up from her tablet. That's the problem, sir. All 3 species they destroyed surrendered quickly when faced with overwhelming force. We don't have data on how the Council performs against determined resistance. Captain Brown sat down heavily in her chair. I've been talking to these aliens for months. They genuinely believe they're bringing peace to the galaxy by controlling every species they encounter. In their minds, they're the heroes of this story. Admiral Miller walked over to the viewing window that looked out over Earth's moon. Thousands of ships moved through the space lanes carrying goods and people between Earth and the colonies. Millions of humans lived and worked in the void, building something new among the stars. Sir, General Hayes said quietly, what are your orders? Admiral Miller turned back to face his staff. These were people he had served with for decades. They had explored unknown systems together, fought pirates together, built something unprecedented in human history together. Now aliens from across the galaxy wanted to tear it all down. Contact President Cooper, he said finally. Tell him, we need an emergency session of the War Council. Then send a message to every colony, every ship, every human settlement from here to the Rim. Tell them what the Council demands. And what should we tell them our response will be? Captain Brown asked. Admiral Miller's expression hardened. Tell them that humanity has never bowed to tyrants. We didn't bow to kings or emperors on Earth. We didn't bow to pirates and raiders in space. And we won't bow to these aliens no matter how many ships they have. Dr. Stone looked up from her calculations. Sir, they have us outnumbered by more than 20 to 1. Their technology is superior in most areas. By any reasonable analysis, resistance would be suicide. Then it's lucky for us, Admiral Miller replied, that humans have never been particularly reasonable. Captain Ryan Clark was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The bridge of the destroyer UES Defiance erupted into chaos as crew members rushed to their stations. Red lights flashed across every surface and the ship's computer began announcing emergency protocols. Captain, we're receiving multiple distress calls from the Outer Rim colonies, shouted Lieutenant Sam Davis from the communication station. His face was pale as he listened to the incoming messages. New Dakota colony is under attack. Port Liberty is reporting orbital bombardment. Sir, they're hitting everyone at the same time. Ryan threw his coffee cup aside and jumped into the captain's chair. The Council had said 30 days, but apparently they had lied. The attacks were happening now, less than a week after their ultimatum. How many colonies are under attack? He demanded. 12 confirmed so far, sir. The reports are coming in fast. Sam's hands shook as he tried to process all the incoming data. Captain, these aren't warning shots. They're trying to destroy everything. Set course for New Dakota. Maximum speed, Ryan ordered. Send word to Earth Command. Tell them the Council started the war early. The Defiance jumped to faster than light. Speed. Racing toward the farming colony of New Dakota. Ryan had visited there 3 months ago during a routine patrol. It was home to 40,000 colonists who had turned a rocky planet into fertile farmland. Now those people were fighting for their lives. On New Dakota, Governor Kate Adams crouched in an underground bunker as explosions shook the ground above her head. She had been preparing for this moment ever since the Council's ultimatum arrived. The colonists had spent the last week digging shelters, hiding weapons, and organizing into militia groups. How many ships are up there? She asked her security chief, Bob Turner. 6 Council vessels, Bob replied, checking his scanner. They're big ones too, but they're not just bombing us from orbit. They're sending ground troops. Kate nodded grimly. The Council wanted to make an example of the human colonies. They could have simply destroyed everything from space, but instead they were landing troops to show other humans what happened to those who resisted. Bob, get word to all the militia leaders. Tell them to remember what we practiced. Hit them. Hard, then disappear. Use the tunnels we dug. Make them pay for every meter of ground. Above ground, the first council transport ships landed in the colony's main square. Velnari soldiers poured out, their blue skin gleaming in the sunlight. They expected to find terrified colonists begging for mercy. Instead, they found empty streets and silence. The first attack came from the grain silos. Human fighters hidden inside opened fire with hunting rifles and improvised weapons. The aliens had better armor and weapons, but they had never fought, an enemy that refused to surrender. Ranch foreman Bob Turner led a group of farmers through maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the colony. They emerged behind the alien landing zone and attacked with Molotov cocktails and explosive charges made from mining equipment. 3 transport ships went up in flames before the Velnari knew what was happening. "These humans fight like wild animals," complained Commander Velth to his superior over the radio. "They attack from hiding, then disappear before we can respond. This is not civilized warfare." "Crush them," came the reply from the council fleet above. "Show no mercy. Make them understand the price of defiance." But the colonists had learned lessons from Earth's history. They knew how small groups could fight larger armies using guerrilla tactics. Every street corner became a potential ambush. Every building could hide snipers. The aliens found themselves fighting ghosts. Captain Ryan Clark arrived at New Dakota to find the space around the planet filled with council warships. His single destroyer was heavily outnumbered, but he had orders to help the colonists anyway. He could. "Sir, we're being hailed by the council fleet," reported his communications officer. "Put them through," Ryan said. The alien commander appeared on screen, his blue face twisted with anger. "Human vessel, you will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This system is under council authority." "This system belongs to human colonists who are fighting for their homes," Ryan replied calmly. "I'm here to help them." "1 ship against 6? You are either very brave or very stupid," Ryan smiled coldly. "Let's find out which one." The Defiance dove toward the planet at full speed, using the gravity well to gain momentum. The council ships turned to pursue, but Ryan had studied their tactics. They fought like a fleet, moving, in formation and expecting their enemies to do the same. Instead, Ryan used the planet's moon as cover, popping out to fire missiles before disappearing again. He couldn't win a straight fight, but he could make the aliens divide their attention between the ground battle and his ship. On the surface, Governor Kate Adams received word that a human ship was engaging the council fleet. The news spread quickly, through the underground tunnels, giving the colonists new hope. "They came for us," she told her people over the radio. "Earth didn't abandon us. Now let's show these aliens what happens when they attack our families." The battle for New Dakota lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the council forces had taken the colony, but at a terrible cost. 3 of their transport ships were destroyed, and hundreds of their soldiers were dead or wounded. The human colonists had fought with a ferocity that shocked the aliens. Similar scenes played out across 12 different worlds. At Port Liberty, Colonel Steve Barnes managed to capture an entire council transport ship intact, providing Earth with valuable intelligence about alien technology. At Haven Station, civilian miners used industrial equipment to fight off landing parties. The council had expected quick victories that would break human morale. Instead, they found that attacking human colonies was like kicking a hornet's nest. The survivors didn't surrender. They got angry. Admiral Miller received reports from all the attacked colonies. The news was grim. Thousands of humans were dead, and several colonies had been completely destroyed. But buried in the reports were details that gave him hope. "They expected us to fold immediately," he told General Hayes during an emergency meeting. "But our people fought back. They made the aliens pay a price for every victory." Dr. Amy Stone had been analyzing the captured alien equipment from Port Liberty. "Sir, I think we might have underestimated ourselves and overestimated them. Their technology is impressive, but their tactics are designed for fighting enemies who surrender quickly. They're not prepared for prolonged resistance." "What do you mean?" Admiral Miller asked. "Look at these weapons," she said, pointing to the alien devices on her workbench. "They're built for intimidation as much as destruction. Same with their ships. They're designed to look impressive and overpower enemies through fear. General A. Hayes leaned forward. And that tells us what? It tells us they haven't fought a real war in a very long time, Dr. Stone replied. They're used to species that give up when faced with superior force. They don't know how to handle an enemy that keeps fighting no matter what. The reports from the attacked colonies supported her theory. The Council forces had expected quick surrenders followed by occupation duties. Instead, they found themselves fighting house-to-house battles against humans who treated every room as a fortress. Admiral Miller stood up and walked to the viewing window. Earth looked peaceful from Luna Station, but he knew that would change soon. The Council had drawn first blood, but they had also awakened something dangerous. Send a message to every human colony, he ordered. Tell them what happened to our people on the Outer Rim. Tell them the Council showed no mercy to civilians, including children. Sir, what's our response going to be? General Hayes asked. Admiral. Miller turned back to face his staff, and his expression was harder than they had ever seen it. The Council thinks they're fighting a police action against unruly colonists. They're about to learn they just declared war on the human race. The news of the Council attack spread across human space like wildfire. On every world, in every city, and every space station, humans watched the recordings from the destroyed colonies. They saw the burned farms of New Dakota. They saw the rubble that used to be Port Liberty's main settlement. They saw the bodies of civilians who had died defending their homes. President Dan Cooper stood before the assembled leaders of humanity on Earth. Representatives from 200 worlds had gathered in the emergency session, their faces grim with anger and determination. The Galactic Council has shown us their true nature, Cooper said, his voice carrying across the packed auditorium. They speak of peace while murdering our children. They claim to bring order while destroying everything we have built. Admiral, Miller activated the holographic display showing human space. Red markers indicated the attacked colonies, but now green markers were appearing everywhere else as human worlds mobilized for war. Every colony has refused evacuation orders, he reported. Instead of running, our people are digging in. They're preparing to fight. Dr. Helen Ward, Earth's chief engineer, stepped forward with a tablet full of production reports. Sir, we've converted 40% of our civilian manufacturing to military production in just 2 weeks. Cargo ships are being fitted with weapons. Passenger liners are becoming troop transports. Every shipyard is working around the clock. The speed of the transformation amazed even the military leaders. Humanity was changing from a peaceful civilization into a war machine faster than anyone thought possible. Commander Tony Garcia entered the auditorium with urgent news. Admiral, we've detected a massive Council fleet heading for the Haven system. Intelligence suggests they're targeting our agricultural worlds to starve us into submission. Admiral Miller studied the tactical display. Haven was one of humanity's most important farming worlds, feeding dozens of other colonies. It was also defended by only a small patrol fleet commanded by Admiral Grace Kelly. How long until the Council fleet reaches Haven? He asked. 18 hours, sir. They have over 50 warships. Admiral Kelly has 12. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the mathematics of space warfare. 12 ships against 50 was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Sir, said Captain Lisa Brown, we could order Admiral Kelly to evacuate the system. Save her ships for a fight we can win. Admiral Miller shook his head. Grace Kelly has been fighting in space for 30 years. If we order her to abandon those colonists, she'll probably shoot the messenger. He was right. Admiral Grace Kelly had spent her career protecting human settlements from pirates and raiders. She would never abandon civilians no matter what the odds. In the Haven system, Admiral Kelly stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UES Courage, watching the Council fleet approach. Her ships were hidden in the system's dense asteroid belt, using the rocky debris as cover. Admiral, the Council fleet is demanding our surrender, reported her communications officer. Tell them we're busy, Kelly replied calmly. Too busy to chat with bullies. Her plan was desperate but simple. The Council fleet would expect a traditional space battle, ship against ship in open space. Instead, she would turn the asteroid belt into a weapon system. "All ships prepare for Operation Slingshot," she ordered. "Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to make them pay the highest price possible." The Council fleet, led by War Prime Kethvar himself, entered the asteroid belt in perfect formation. Their ships were massive and powerful, designed to intimidate enemies into surrender. They had never fought an enemy that used the environment as a weapon. Admiral Kelly's ships opened fire not at the Council vessels, but at the asteroids around them. Carefully placed explosive charges sent chunks of rock flying at incredible speeds. The Council ships found themselves dodging not just missiles and laser fire, but entire mountains of stone moving at deadly velocities. Captain Nick Thompson, commanding the cruiser UES Vengeance, used his ship's mining lasers to cut a massive asteroid in half. The two pieces tumbled toward a Council dreadnought, forcing it to break formation and exposing its flanks to attack. "This is madness," complained Council Commander Velnok to War Prime Kethvar. "They're fighting like savages, using rocks as weapons." "Adapt," Kethvar replied coldly. "We have superior numbers and firepower. Press the attack." But the Council's ships were designed for open space combat. In the cluttered environment of the asteroid belt, their size became a disadvantage. They couldn't maneuver quickly enough to avoid both human weapons and the flying debris. The battle raged for 6 hours. Admiral Kelly's ships darted between asteroids like sharks, striking and disappearing before the Council forces could respond. When the UES Defiant took critical damage, Captain Thompson made a decision that would become legend. "All crew to escape pods," he ordered. "I'm taking her in." The Vengeance, her hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere, accelerated toward the Council flagship. The aliens tried to destroy the approaching ship, but Thompson had disabled the safety systems. The human cruiser slammed into the alien dreadnought at full speed. The explosion lit up the asteroid belt like a new sun. Both ships were destroyed instantly, but Thompson's sacrifice allowed the remaining human vessels to escape and regroup. On Earth, President Cooper was meeting with his cabinet when the news arrived. The Haven system had been lost, but Admiral Kelly's fleet had destroyed 15 Council ships and damaged many more. The aliens had won, but they had paid a terrible price. 15 of their ships for 8 of ours, General Hayes said, studying the battle reports. "If we can maintain that exchange rate, we might actually have a chance." Dr. Amy Stone was analyzing the wreckage recovered from the battle. "Sir, I'm seeing something interesting in these alien hull fragments. Their armor is impressive, but it's designed to stop energy weapons. It's less effective against kinetic impacts." "You mean hitting them with rocks actually works?" Admiral Miller asked. "Better than our best missiles in some cases," she confirmed. "They've been fighting civilized enemies for so long. They forgot that war doesn't have to be civilized." The news of the Haven battle spread across human space. The colonists saw that Admiral Kelly's fleet had been outnumbered 4-1, but they had made the aliens bleed. More importantly, they had shown that the Council could be hurt. On New Dakota, the survivors in the underground tunnels heard the reports and smiled grimly. Governor Kate Adams had been killed in the final assault, but her deputy, Mayor Frank Collins, continued organizing resistance. "You hear that?" he told his people. "Our Navy is making them pay for every victory. Now it's our turn." The resistance on occupied worlds intensified. Council garrison troops found themselves under constant attack from human guerrilla fighters who seemed to appear from nowhere. Supply convoys were ambushed. Communication stations were sabotaged. The aliens began to understand that conquering human territory was easier than holding it. War Prime Kethvar sent a message to the Council leadership on their home worlds. "The humans are not fighting like any enemy we have faced before. They do not surrender when defeated. They do not negotiate when outgunned. They simply keep fighting until they are all dead." The response from the Council was swift and harsh. "Then kill them all. Make an example that will terrify any other species that might consider defying us." But the Council leaders were making the same mistake their field commanders had made. They thought they were fighting a police action against rebellious colonists. They didn't understand that they had awakened something far more dangerous. On Earth, Admiral Miller was meeting with his staff when Dr. Stone brought him the most important piece of intelligence yet. She had been studying the captured Council technology and had made a discovery that changed everything. "Sir, I've figured out why the Council species formed their alliance," she said, her voice excited. "They're not natural warriors. Every single one of them evolved as prey animals or peaceful herbivores. They've never faced a species of natural predators before." Admiral Miller looked up from his reports. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they've been fighting the galactic equivalent of sheep and deer for thousands of years," Dr. Stone replied. "They've never met wolves before." The implication was staggering. Humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely new in the galaxy's experience. They were predators who had learned to hunt in packs, to use tools, to never give up until their prey was dead. Admiral Miller stood up and walked to the viewing window. The orbital shipyards around Earth were working at maximum capacity, building vessels designed not for exploration or trade, but for war. Humanity was transforming itself into something the galaxy had never seen before. "Send a message to every human world," he ordered. "Tell them the Council wants to make an example of us. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten a species that spent 1,000,000 years learning how to kill." Admiral Miller stood before the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. 300 warships floated in formation around Earth, their weapons loaded and their crews ready for battle. But this time, humanity was not waiting to be attacked. This time, they were taking the fight to the enemy. "Operation Retribution begins now," Miller announced to his fleet commanders. "The Council wants to teach the galaxy a lesson about defying them. We're going to teach them a lesson about attacking humans." Captain Alex Stone, brother of Dr. Amy Stone, received his orders aboard the experimental stealth ship UES Ghost. His mission was simple but incredibly dangerous. He would slip deep into Council territory and strike at targets they thought were safe. "Alex, remember that you're not just fighting a battle," his sister told him over the communication link. "You're sending a message. Show them that nowhere is beyond our reach." The Ghost was humanity's newest weapon, built using stolen Council technology and human engineering. It could slip past alien sensors like a shadow, appearing where the enemy least expected it. Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Ward's engineering teams had been working around the clock on a new type of warship. Instead of building massive battleships like the Council used, humans created something different. They built swarms. Lieutenant Sam Davis stood on the bridge of the UES Wolf, one of 50 identical ships preparing for their first combat mission. Each ship was small and fast, designed to work together like a pack of hunting animals. "Remember," Commander Rachel Green told the swarm captains during their briefing, "you don't fight like the Council expects. You don't line up and trade shots. You surround them. You confuse them. You make them panic." The first human strike hit the Velnari shipyards in the Kepler system. Captain Alex Stone's stealth ship appeared without warning, launching missiles at the massive construction facilities. The yards, which had been building Council warships for centuries, erupted in flames. "Impossible," gasped Shipyard Commander Velmore as he watched his facilities burn. "How did they get past our defenses?" But the Ghost was already gone, vanishing into space before the Velnari could respond. The message was clear. If the Council could attack human colonies, humans could attack Council infrastructure. The real shock came 3 days later when Sam Davis led his wolf pack against a Council convoy near the Drakmari home system. The alien ships detected the approaching humans and formed their traditional battle line, expecting a standard fleet engagement. Instead, the human ships scattered in all directions, moving too fast for the heavy Council vessels to target effectively. They attacked from every angle at once, like wolves bringing down a much larger prey animal. "They fight without honor," complained Drakmari Commander Morketh as his ships tried desperately to keep up with the darting human vessels. "They attack like wild beasts." "Adapt or die," replied his subordinate grimly, watching another transport ship explode under human fire. The convoy was destroyed in 20 minutes. The human wolf pack disappeared into hyperspace before Council reinforcements could arrive, leaving only wreckage and confused alien survivors. General Pete Hayes was leading the ground campaign to retake the occupied human colonies. His forces didn't just liberate the settlements. They pursued the retreating Council forces to their bases and destroyed them completely. "Sir, the Council garrison on Gamma Station is requesting surrender terms," reported Colonel Jenny Price. "Tell Then we don't accept surrenders from people who murdered civilians, Hayes replied coldly. Tell them to fight or die. The general had seen the recordings from the massacred colonies. He had seen council forces shooting human children who were trying to flee. There would be no mercy for such enemies. Hayes implemented a strategy he called total warfare. His forces didn't just defeat council military units. They destroyed everything the aliens could use to support their war effort. Supply depots, communication centers, repair facilities, even administrative buildings. Nothing was left standing. You're creating a wasteland, protested captured council commander Velcris during an interrogation. Good, Hayes replied. Maybe. The next time you'll think twice before attacking human families. The council leadership was beginning to panic. They had expected a short war against primitives armed with crude weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each battle. War Prime Kethvar sent increasingly desperate reports to the council chambers. The humans are not following established warfare protocols. They attack supply lines instead of military targets. They use captured equipment against us. They refuse to accept defeat even when completely surrounded. Council Supreme Leader Zeftar called an emergency session. Representatives from all 12 council species gathered to discuss the human problem. The mood was very different from their confident meeting weeks earlier. Perhaps we underestimated these humans, suggested Etherian Consul Mordeth. Their resistance is far more organized than we anticipated. They are animals, snarled Kresh Hivemind Speaker Velkek. Animals do not surrender, they fight until they die. Then maybe we should reconsider our approach, Mordeth replied carefully. The cost of this war is becoming very high. But War Prime, Kethavar had a different solution. We have been too gentle. We must show the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Council. We will target human civilian populations directly, break their will to fight. It was the worst decision the Council could have made. When news reached human space that the aliens were deliberately targeting civilian transports and refugee ships, the last restraints on human warfare disappeared. Commander Rachel Green's intelligence division had been working to crack Council communications. When they succeeded, they discovered something that changed the entire war: the location of the Council's central command facility in the Nexus system. Sir, this is our chance, she told Admiral Miller. One strike at their command center could cripple their ability to coordinate the war. Admiral Miller studied the intelligence reports. The Nexus system was the most heavily defended location in Council space. It would take everything humanity had to break through those defenses. How many ships would we need? He asked. Everything we have, replied General Hayes. And it still might not be enough. Dr. Amy Stone had been working on humanity's secret weapon. Project Prometheus had finally come online. She had created artificial intelligence systems that could think as fast as computers, but with human creativity and adaptability. Admiral, I'd like you to meet Atlas and Titan, she said, gesturing to the quantum computers that house the AI systems. They can coordinate our entire fleet with perfect precision while still thinking like humans. Atlas spoke first, its voice eerily human-like. Admiral Miller, we have analyzed all available data on Council defenses. A conventional attack on the Nexus system has a 12% chance of success. That's not very encouraging, Miller replied. However, Titan added, an unconventional attack using human tactical doctrine has a 67% chance of success. The Council cannot predict what they have never encountered before. The plan that emerged was typically human in its audacity. Instead of a massive frontal assault, they would use every trick they had learned. Stealth ships, wolfpack tactics, kinetic bombardment using asteroids, and most importantly, the willingness to take risks that no sane species would consider. Captain Frank Morris, commanding the heavy cruiser UES Fury, volunteered to lead the assault wave. Sir, my crew knows this is probably a one-way mission. We're ready. All our crews know the odds, replied Admiral Miller, but they also know what the Council did to our people. That's all the motivation they need. Emma Brooks, one of the youngest pilots in the fleet, sat in her fighter cockpit preparing for the mission. She had grown up on New Dakota before the Council attack. Her parents were among the civilians murdered in the first assault. "This is for everyone who didn't make it," she whispered, checking her weapons one final time. Across human space, the largest military operation in human history was beginning. Over 500 ships supported by thousands of AI-controlled drones were converging on the Nexus system. They carried the hopes and anger of every human who had lost family to Council attacks. Admiral Miller sent one final message to his fleet commanders. "The Council thinks they're fighting rebellious colonists. They're about to discover they've been fighting the human race. Show them what that means." The Armada jumped to hyperspace, heading for the heart of Council power. Behind them, human colonies continued to resist occupation. On Earth, factories worked around the clock to build more ships and weapons. Throughout human space, millions of people waited for news of the final battle. The Council had wanted to make an example of humanity to terrify other species into submission. Instead, they had awakened something that would make the galaxy remember why apex predators were never to be challenged on their own terms. The real war was just beginning. The Nexus system had never seen a battle before. For 10,000 years, it had been the peaceful heart of Council power, protected by massive defense stations and over 2,000 warships. War Prime Kethvar stood in the central command chamber, confident that no enemy could break through such defenses. "Sir, we're detecting hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system," reported his sensor officer. "Multiple contacts, very large formation." Kethvar activated the tactical display and watched as human ships dropped out of hyperspace. He counted 500 vessels, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. It was impressive, but he commanded 4 times as many ships. "All stations prepare for battle," he ordered. "Today we end this human rebellion once and for all." Admiral Miller stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Retribution, watching the Council fleet move into formation. Their ships formed perfect lines following tactics that had worked for millennia against conventional enemies. But humanity had never been conventional. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," Miller commanded. "Show them what real war looks like." The human fleet did something the Council had never seen before. Instead of forming battle lines, the ships scattered in every direction. Some headed for the defense stations. Others dove toward the system's asteroid belt. A few seemed to be running away entirely. "What are they doing?" demanded Council Admiral Velnoth. "This makes no tactical sense." "It's exactly what they've been doing throughout this war," replied Kethvar grimly. "They don't fight the way civilized species fight." Captain Frank Morris led the first wave of attackers against the primary defense station. His ship, the UES Fury, charged straight at the massive alien fortress while missiles and energy beams filled the space around him. "Sir, they're targeting our engines," his tactical officer reported as the ship shook under enemy fire. "Good," Frank replied calmly. "That means they're not shooting at anything important yet. The Fury's real mission wasn't to destroy the defense station. It was to get close enough to deploy Emma Brooks and her squadron of fighters. The small ships launched from hidden bays and swarmed over the station's surface like angry wasps. Emma guided her fighter through the station's defensive guns, her heart pounding as she remembered her destroyed home on New Dakota. Her parents had died when the Council first attacked. Now she had a chance to make them pay. "For New Dakota," she whispered, launching her torpedoes into the station's main reactor. The explosion lit up the entire system as the defense station tore itself, apart from the inside. But Emma's fighter was caught in the blast. She had known it was a one-way mission when she volunteered. On the other side of the system, Captain Alex Stone's stealth ships were causing chaos among the Council supply vessels. The aliens couldn't see the human ships until it was too late. Transport after transport exploded as the invisible attackers struck without warning. "Where are they?" shouted Council Commander Veltar as his convoy burned around him. "How do we fight enemies we cannot see?" "You don't," came Alex Stone's reply over the open communication channel. "You just die." The AI systems Atlas and Titan were coordinating the entire battle with inhuman precision. They tracked every enemy ship, calculated optimal attack vectors, and adjusted human tactics in real time. But they fought with human creativity. using tricks and strategies no logical computer would consider. Council reinforcements are moving to defend their command ship, Atlas reported to Admiral Miller. Recommend Wolfpack assault on their flanks. Lieutenant Sam Davis led his squadron of fast attack ships against the Council reserves. The alien vessels tried to maintain formation, but the human ships moved too quickly and attacked from too many directions at once. They fight like predators, observed Drakmari Captain Morketh as his ship took damage from multiple attackers. No honor, no mercy. Honor doesn't matter when you're dead, Sam replied, launching another volley of missiles. War Prime Kethvar watched his perfect battle plan fall apart. The humans weren't following any known tactical doctrine. They attacked from unexpected angles, used their own damaged ships as weapons, and seemed to care more about inflicting damage than preserving their own forces. Sir, the humans have broken through our outer defenses, his aide reported. They're heading directly for us. Kethvar looked at the tactical display in disbelief. Somehow the outnumbered human fleet was winning. His ships were destroyed or damaged, his defense stations were burning, and enemy vessels were closing in on the command center. Colonel Jenny Price led the Marines who boarded the Council command station. The alien corridors were designed for species that had never fought desperate battles. The Council soldiers had better weapons and armor, but they had never faced humans in close combat. They don't know how to fight when they can't retreat, Jenny told her troops as they advanced through the station. Use that against them. The Marines moved through the corridors like a force of nature. They had trained for this moment, knowing they might only get one chance to end the war. Every door they breached brought them closer to the Council leadership. Admiral Miller's flagship penetrated the final defensive line around the command station. The alien vessels tried to stop him, but human determination proved stronger than alien technology. Admiral, we're receiving a surrender request from the Council Command Center, his communications officer reported. Miller thought about the destroyed colonies, the murdered civilians, the friends he had lost in battle. The Council had started this war by attacking innocent people. Now they wanted mercy when they faced defeat. Tell them surrender was an option before they killed our children, he replied coldly. Now it's too late. The final assault lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Nexus system lay in ruins. The Council's command center was destroyed, their fleet was scattered, and their leadership was either dead or captured. War Prime Kethvar, wounded and facing capture, was brought before Admiral Miller. The alien leader's arrogance was finally gone, replaced by something humans recognized as fear. Why do you fight with such hatred? Kethvar asked. We offered you terms. Miller looked at the alien commander with cold eyes. You threatened our children, you attacked our homes. You thought we were just another species to be controlled. You were wrong. What happens now? Kethvar whispered. Now you learn what happens when you declare war on humanity, Miller replied. The news of the Council's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light. On every world, alien species that had lived under Council rule for thousands of years heard the same impossible story. The humans had won. The Council was gone. On the surviving human colonies, the celebrations lasted for days. Governor Frank Collins, who had led the resistance on New Dakota, stood among the ruins of his settlement and smiled for the first time in months. They said we couldn't win, he told his people. They said we should surrender. They were wrong about everything. President Cooper addressed the galaxy from the ruins of the Council chambers. His message was broadcast to every inhabited world, translated into hundreds of languages. Humanity came to the stars seeking peace and friendship, he said. The Galaxy Council chose war instead. This is the result. We will accept the surrender of all Council forces. We will guarantee the safety of species that submit peacefully. But let this be a lesson to anyone who might threaten human worlds in the future. He paused, looking directly into the camera. We are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. But we are survivors. And we will burn down anyone who tries to destroy us. The galaxy fell silent. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was no council to maintain order. But there was something new in its place. Humanity had proven that even the strongest empire could fall if it picked the wrong enemy. Dr. Amy Stone stood in her laboratory, analyzing the wreckage of Council technology. The aliens had built their civilization on the assumption that overwhelming force would always triumph over resistance. They had never encountered a species that grew stronger when threatened. "Admiral," she said to Miller, "I've been studying the Council records. Do you know how many species they have destroyed completely?" "How many?" he asked. 47 civilizations, all wiped out because they refused to submit." She looked up from her datapad. "We're the first species to fight, back and win." Admiral Miller nodded slowly. The responsibility was enormous. Humanity now controlled the most advanced technology in the galaxy and commanded the respect that came from absolute victory. They would have to decide what kind of civilization they wanted to build from the ashes of the Council's empire. "Send a message to every world that was under Council control," he ordered. "Tell them they're free. Tell them humanity offers protection to those who want it, and will leave alone those who don't. But tell them one more thing." "What's that, sir?" Miller looked out at the stars, thinking of all the human colonies that had fought and died to reach this moment. "Tell them that anyone who tries to recreate the Council's tyranny will face the same fate. The galaxy belongs to everyone now, not just the strong. The war was over. Humanity had won not just a military victory, but something much more important. They had proven that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter what the odds. The galaxy would never be the same again." In the end, the Council had been right about one thing: humanity was dangerous. But they had been wrong about E.